Happy Friday Eve. It's Leap Day. How about that? Filling in for the Weather Mike, it's Beardless Weather Mike. How you doing? I shave it every once in a while if it gets too bushy, and then I take it down to stubble, and then I let it grow back out. So that's what's going on. There's a lot going on in the weather on this Friday Eve. So let's get into it and talk about it. We'll start with the Texas Panhandle into Oklahoma, the wildfires there. There is one fatality now. Unfortunately, in the Texas Panhandle, 850,000 acres burned there. But the good news is it's snowing and raining. It's on the light side, but it's coming down right now. We'll show you that here in just a little bit. So that'll help firefighters get a handle on those fires. Meanwhile, we have a high fire danger, a red flag warning where I live in western Iowa, into Nebraska and also northern Kansas and parts of Missouri. So obviously, if you're playing around with fire, don't. And everyone knows that. And especially after what's going on now, when you have something like what happened or what is happening in the Texas Panhandle down in Oklahoma with those wildfires, there obviously is heightened awareness. So be aware. High fire danger today in the Central Plains into the Midwest. Meanwhile, there's your winter weather advisory for parts of the Texas Panhandle. Very good news there. Then our eyes turn to the west. Actually, don't let me leave out New Hampshire and Maine with a little bit of a wind advisory there and a little bit of snow coming down in New York State. All right, the West Coast is getting crazy. A storm in the Pacific Northwest. Low elevation snows for the Coast Range. Winter weather advisories there. Winter storm warnings for the Cascades of Oregon, Washington, also the Olympic Mountains in Washington, moving into the mountains of Northern California. And then it's a blizzard warning. That's right, a blizzard warning for the Sierra Nevada. And we'll show you the details on that here in just a little bit. Meanwhile, it's more wind for Nevada, parts of California. Also in Nevada, a winter storm watch. And in Idaho into Wyoming, we have winter storm watches and winter storm warnings in effect there. And just to the east of Salt Lake City, a winter storm watch as well. And so here's what's going on the surface today. And there's your good news in the Texas Panhandle into Oklahoma, a mixture of rain and snow. It is happening right now, so that is good. And thunderstorms for East Texas, Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, later on, Arkansas, perhaps Florida Panhandle a little bit there too. A mixture of precipitation north of an area of rain across the south and into Texas. New Mexico with a mixture of precipitation. And then there's your storm. Well, let's do the critical fire weather possible. That's northern Kansas into southeastern Nebraska. So that's where the worst fire danger is. Meanwhile, in New York State, some snow coming down. And for the west, that's where the action is as far as precipitation goes. I mean, we're talking heavy snow near Yellowstone and Wyoming, heavy snow Idaho, Montana, Washington, Oregon, and California. And again, a blizzard warning for the Sierra Nevada. Today's highs, we're rebounding a little bit from our cold air in the Midwest and the Central Plains, Northern Plains, back in the 50s today here in Iowa, even some 60s in Nebraska, 50s to near 60 for South Dakota, and then some 50s still hanging in there and some 60s too in Montana. But you get along the Canadian border, that's where the freezing temperatures for highs are today. Pretty hot in Florida still, 80s there, 70s, 80s tomorrow. I'll show you that in a second. And southern Arizona, of course, the snowbirds enjoying the nice weather there. That's why they go. Tomorrow, here's how it looks on the surface. Thunderstorms for the south, up into the Tennessee Valley, Kentucky, U2. Could see some freezing rain for the higher elevations of North Carolina, Virginia, West Virginia. A mixture of precipitation north of that. And then for the west, our west coast storm really cranking now for California. This is going to be prime time for the blizzard is tomorrow and Saturday morning. So heavy snow, mountains of California, mountains of Oregon and Washington, Idaho, Wyoming, Utah, Nevada, and Montana getting some snow as well. And then tomorrow's highs, the fortunes are going to reverse. So it's going to get warm again in the middle of the country. And we're already seeing the gusty south winds here. That's why we have a high fire danger today, because those winds are gusting out of the south. It is dry air and it is warming up, and even warmer tomorrow as 70s surge, not just through Texas, but up into Kansas, 60s to near 70 in Nebraska and South Dakota, 80s for Florida. There you go. 70s in southern Arizona, kind of perfect. And then cooler for the Pacific Northwest, because this is our blizzard warning day, Friday into Saturday. So this is out of the office of Sacramento, California, the National Weather Service office there. And here's what they have to say. Timing starting today through Sunday, but really the blizzard conditions Friday and Saturday morning. 5 to 10 feet of snow above 5,000 feet. 1 to 4 feet, that's all. Only 1 to 4 feet above 3,000 feet. And then lighter accumulations all the way down to 2,000 feet with the storm. Winds gusting to 65. So that's going to give you extremely difficult to impossible travel, whiteout conditions, excessive travel delays, chains will be required, of course. Road closures likely, down trees, etc. Travel highly discouraged. I don't think it's going to be possible. I'd be shocked if they don't close down the main roads at least Friday and into Saturday before they can get them back open. And then Saturday, here's how things look across the country. Showers and thunderstorms, Florida, and along that stationary front in the south into South Carolina, North Carolina. Rain north of that, mixture north of that. Some colder air moving into the northern plains now. North Dakota, even some freezing rain possible. South Dakota, a mix. Eastern Montana, a mix. Western Montana, snow. Idaho, snow. That's heavy snow for you. Wyoming, Colorado, Utah, Nevada, and the heavy snow continues in the mountains of Northern California, the Sierra Nevada, and Southern Oregon, with a mix down to even low levels in Western Oregon, Western Washington. That's a lot going on. So let's see how the GFS plays it out. This is the latest GFS run. We're starting at noon Central Time, so about an hour from now is how things should look. We are seeing snow and some rain in the Texas Panhandle into Oklahoma. An hour from now, that should still be going on. This is where most of the wildfires are. So it's on the light side, and those fires are pretty intense. Will this be enough to put the fires out, or give enough relief for firefighters for them to get a handle on them before things start to warm up again tomorrow and we get some stronger winds in the area? So keep praying here that these wildfires can be put under control or put out. And it looks like answered prayers with light snow and light mix in this area. So that's fantastic. Meanwhile, our storm in the Pacific Northwest is moving in with already heavy snows in parts of Oregon and Washington and into California with rain along the coast. Now, as we go through time, we see our precipitation moving out of the wildfire area and into Kansas. So only a few hours of light rain and snow. So hopefully that's enough for them to get a handle on it. Watch the southeast. We're going to see showers and storms busting out here. And then, of course, our big storm in the northwest. But snow for northwestern Montana. There you go, Dad. Some snow for you. At least hopefully, I think, down low enough for you. And then some heavy snow in Idaho. Heavy snow again for the Sierra Nevada. This is where we're going to be watching 5 to 10 feet of snow above 5,000 feet. Craziness. Rain along the Oregon coast. As we get into the day Friday right here, this is early morning Friday. We see snow, very low elevations for western Washington, getting close to the lowest elevations in Oregon, although rain along the coast. And we see heavy snow coming down in the mountains here, lighter snow for Idaho, Montana into Wyoming. We see our showers and thunderstorms across the south with a little bit of snow there in Missouri into Illinois. And as we go further into the day on Friday, we see showers and storms moving across Mississippi, Alabama, into the Florida Panhandle, across Tennessee and Kentucky, into South Carolina, with maybe a thunderstorm there too. Heavy snow still going on in the Sierra Nevada, heavy snow in the northern mountains of California into the southern Cascades of Oregon and the Coast Range, lighter snow towards Yellowstone, and we see the showers and storms continuing across the south as we finish up the day Friday here. And this is getting very intense. You see how close these isobars are right over the Sierra Nevada. This is your 65-mile-an-hour winds. This is your very heavy snow along with 65-mile-an-hour winds. This is stay home is what that is. I don't think you'll have a choice. I doubt these roads will be open. Siskiyou's heavy snow into southern Oregon as well. Lighter snow across Idaho over to Yellowstone. We are almost into Saturday. So this is late Friday into Saturday. Again, remember the Sacramento weather office was saying that's prime time for our blizzard. And it certainly is showing that on the GFS model. Well, this is one of the models they use to come up with that forecast. Meanwhile, Saturday morning, we have showers and storms. It's like 1 a.m. Eastern time across North Carolina into Virginia. A little bit of lingering rain in Florida. But again, our main story, the blizzard in California, along with heavy snow, low elevation snows, by the way. And then some pretty good rains, too. Sacramento, San Francisco, down the Central Coast, Santa Maria, Paso Robles. Then we've got still have some low elevation snows in Oregon coming down here, moving into Nevada, Idaho, and then our rain for the Central Coast, Central East Coast, moving offshore, and still snowing in the Sierra Nevada. Heavy snow now, Salt Lake City. This is Saturday night, moving into Sunday. So brief heavy snow near Salt Lake, moving into Colorado. Snow still hanging on in California, but lightening up as we get into Sunday. And here's some snow way in the northern plains. You see this cold air advancing. So we see this very warm air across ahead of the storm. So, we have the trough in the west that bubbles up high pressure in the center part of the country. So warming up here with southerly breezes and turning colder back here in the northwest, spreading to the east. So we'll see what happens with that as we see some showers of snow mainly in Utah, Nevada, up into Colorado, Wyoming, and just, still snowing in Oregon, still snowing in the Sierra Nevada, just massive. But we do see some of that colder air spreading further to the east in the northern plains. South Dakota seeing some snow. North Dakota, it's light. This is Monday noon Central Time. Colorado seeing some snow back into Utah. A little bit of rain. Nothing too bad there for Louisiana, but we do see more showers and storms erupting in East Texas, into Arkansas, Missouri, eastern Iowa, parts of Minnesota into Wisconsin and the UP of Michigan. And then behind the front, the cold front, and near the low, we see the heaviest snow with some wind here in northeastern Colorado into Nebraska and across South Dakota. And then, of course, it's rain out in front. And we'll see what that does as this low moves through the southern plains. North of that is where we see our snow. South Dakota, Nebraska, into Minnesota. This is Tuesday early morning, 3 a.m. It's thunderstorms, heavy rain into Louisiana, Arkansas, near Memphis, right on top of Memphis in Tennessee. And this low lifting off to the northeast, snow on the backside for Minnesota, where they have not had a lot of snow this year. Perhaps the snow will get as far south as where I live in western Iowa. According to this GFS run, we're getting skunked. That's going to be close. And the heavy rain continues. Louisiana, Mississippi, Tennessee, into Paducah, Kentucky, southern Illinois. So that bears watching too. Heavy rain continuing into Alabama as we get into the day Tuesday. This is almost midnight. This is midnight Tuesday. Our low is gone up into Canada. Cold air, though, spilling southward. This front all the way through Kansas by midnight Tuesday night. So colder air moving into the plains and some light rain left over at midnight across the south, which we'll see a few more showers and storms erupting for the mid-Atlantic into the Carolinas and back in the south. And then another storm on Wednesday entering Northern California. Let's take a look at the next 7 days as far as precipitation across the country goes, because this kind of highlights the snowfall amounts for the West. If you look at the Cascades of Oregon and the Coast Range of Oregon, and you look at the Key down there, that's about 4 inches, 4 to 5 inches of liquid precipitation. When you convert that into snow, it's probably good 4 to 5 feet of snow. And then you get into California and it's more like 7, 8, 9, 10 feet of snow. So just massive amounts of snow for the West Coast and the higher elevations. And you don't have to get that high. You see the snow level is down to 2,000 feet for Northern California, probably lower than that for Oregon and Washington. Meanwhile, as you get into Idaho, further inland, Montana, Wyoming, Utah, you're looking at lesser amounts, but you're still looking at decent amounts of snow. It's probably 1 to 2 feet. So that's what's going on for the next 7 days. This is good through March 7th. And even in the south, this is liquid rain. And you're looking at anywhere from 2 to isolated 4 or 5 inches of rain across the south. So that's a good soaking, but you don't want it all in half hour. Right. Here's the long range forecast for precipitation probability. So anything in the green is above average chance of above average precipitation, and the darker the green, the greater the chance. And this runs from the 7th until the 13th. So this takes us to the 7th, and then this takes us beyond that another week. And so much of the country with an above average chance of above average precipitation. And then looks like it's going to stay warm, western half, cool. Warm eastern half, a cool western half as we get into mid-March. Lots going on in the weather. Thanks for hanging in there with me on this one. It is Friday Eve. It is Leap Day. Lots of deals going on because it only happens once every 4 years, I guess. So enjoy your day. Friday Eve makes the weekend seem closer. We'll keep you updated as we go. Thanks for tuning in. The Weather Mike.